thrilled to have here on the program in advance of his tight end summit and all the news that is going on with his son that appears to be doing just fine. Greg Olsen, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Greg?
Doing great, Rich. How are you doing?
I'm doing better for talking to you. How's your son? How's TJ? Let's start off with that.
You know, he's doing pretty good. It's almost hard to believe. He's about 2.5 weeks post heart transplant, and he's home and happy and eating, and we got to take him outside today and kind of get him some fresh air and take him for a ride in the car, and we let him get out and about a little bit. And he's it's just remarkable, just to see how far he's come in such a short period of time, considering, about 6 weeks ago we were admitted into the ICU and heart failure and told that we were going to embark on this journey of heart transplantation, and we didn't know what that time frame looked like or whatnot, to now be sitting here at home and recovering and all back together. It's pretty remarkable.
So what was your Father's Day like?
My Father's Day was busy. So for the last month or so, obviously we spent the majority of our time in the hospital. TJ was admitted May 20th. And so we were pretty much in the hospital. My wife and I would try to bounce back and forth. Obviously we have 2 other kids that had events in school and graduations and all that stuff going on. So we tried to do our best to accommodate that. But the majority of our time was at TJ, with TJ at the hospital. And there was just a bunch of stuff we had to do getting ready for the transplant and meetings and whatnot. So I was actually fortunate enough on Wednesday, we brought TJ home and spent Wednesday and Thursday kind of getting him settled in back home with everybody. And then Thursday, my older son had a baseball tournament in Charleston, South Carolina. So since TJ was home and recovered last minute, I was able to get up and take my son down there and spent the weekend with him and my dad, just the 3 of us at a baseball tournament, and then came home yesterday and spent the rest of the day all together for Father's Day. So it was, all in all, it was a great Father's Day. Felt a little more like back to normal for me, but it was all in all, it was just nice to have them all back home together.
That's amazing, Greg. Obviously that's something we would all sign for, but you certainly 6 weeks ago when you found out that your son definitely needed a new heart, which I know you thought would be a possibility at some point in time, because I know, again, that your son was born with a defect, correct? Because I know that you and your wife have had your foundation focused on what your son TJ has been dealing with. Can you want to give a little bit more information on that, Greg?
Yeah, of course. So in 2012, TJ was born with a condition called hypoplastic left heart syndrome, and in essence, what it is he only has half of a heart. He was born without a left ventricle. Just never grew when he was developing in utero, and if left untreated, it's just 100% fatality. So he had his first open heart surgery to rework the kind of the plumbing of his heart when he was 2 days old. He had a second open heart surgery at 5 months, and then his third and final stage of that kind of reorientation of his heart anatomy at 2 years old. So he had 3 open heart surgeries, and then shortly after that, he had a pacemaker put in, and a handful of other smaller procedures. So he lived 8 years with that anatomy. And we always knew, like you said, that there was the possibility of that single ventricle, what they call it, failing. And that's in essence what happened to his. We were hoping it would last a little longer, but for him it lasted 8 years. And, he was deemed to be in heart failure when we brought him into the hospital, admitted into the ICU, and started the process of heart transplant. So this is something we've dealt with since the night he was born. We knew prior to him being born that he would have this condition and that this would be a long journey for him. So we've had a lot of nights in the hospital. We've had a lot of surgeries and consultations with doctors, but we're just so thankful for the Children's Hospital here, Levine Children's. We do a lot of charitable work with them. We just built a new heart center with them through our foundation, the Hardest Yard. So we've been living this journey for about 9 years now.
So, pardon me for asking a particularly personal question, but I'm wondering, do you know whose heart is in your son's chest right now, Greg?
It's a great question. It's a great question, and I'll tell you the hardest part of this entire journey, I think, for my wife Kara and I, as we went through, probably about 5 or 6 days of pretty significant consultation with the transplant team. And every aspect of it, from the mental health component of it to the financial component of it to the actual medical process to the transplant everything. Just there's a million people you sit down with and consult before they finally allow you to be listed on the transplant list. One of the hardest things to wrap your head around is, the gift of life that now sits in my son and allows him to be home with his brother and sister came as a result of someone else's tragedy. And right now, unfortunately, that's the only way that this can go on. There's a lot of research out there and a lot of studies being done as we speak about the process of being able to grow your own tissue and grow your own organs so that it didn't have to be reliant on someone else's passing. But as we stand here today, that's just the way the heart donation process works. And but no, they are not allowed to tell us any of the information. We don't even know what center it came from. We don't know the circumstances of what happened, the age. We don't know anything. There is a process through the organ procurement company called UNOS, which is like the national body that oversees the process. They do have a way that the recipient family can write a letter to the donor family, and then the ball's in their court whether or not they want to engage with us to share more information. But I'm sure at some point that'll be something that we get into. But as we stand here today, we don't know anything about the situation.
Well, in terms of what we know, Greg Olsen, about the situation, a lot of it is because you and your wife have been so sharing and posting videos of TJ and what he looks like and sounds like. It's just, it really is a beautiful thing, Greg. And, also his siblings as well being there where he's talking to them about, hey, we have an offer for a heart transplant, and seeing their reaction and giving him a hug and just seeing TJ just smiling like he basically told him he got a good grade in school, And my wife and I, as we've, gone through this parenting gauntlet, which it is sometimes, when my our children have had something not nearly as serious, obviously, as this, but it is something that requires a stitch or something that does require preparing the child for something. We were always told it's going to hurt you more than the kid. It's going to affect you more than the kid. How is your son handling all this and providing you and your wife even comfort with the way that he might be handling it?
I'll tell you what,
Greg?
he handled it. You just hit the nail on the head. It was 1,000 times more stressful and agonizing, and I think my wife and I had way more sleepless nights through this process than he did. He was content being in the hospital, walking around with his IV bag and his backpack, playing air hockey in the child's life room and building a wooden. Every day that we spent there with him, whoever spent the day or the night with him, it was an awesome day to him. And his outlook on that in life, that's anyone who knows TJ, that's him. He makes the most of everything. He doesn't have any doesn't have any FOMO, right? We joke, TJ's the non-FOMO. He doesn't fear, all right, the other kids are at a baseball game and I had to stay home. That's okay. I hope they win. That's his attitude. And we always say, he was put in this situation because he's one of probably our only kid and one of few kids who has the outlook and the mental outlook to be able to take it as best in stride as possible. And whether this has caused him to have that attitude or his attitude was there to begin with, it's hard to say, but he's handled this with way more grace and way more optimism. He never felt sorry for himself. He never felt like life was unfair. He never looked at it from the negative. And it's a big reason. They told us going in, the mental health component. They spent a lot of time with TJ and child psychologists and the family preparing him. And I think the mental component of it is why he has had such a good recovery, because he never once felt sorry for himself or got down on himself. And we all know your brain controls so much of your outlook, and for him, it's a perfect example of that.
Amazing, Greg. Just truly amazing. And I just love the fact that you and I are talking with an outcome that has turned out to be looking the way that it looks, and seeing him smiling, and your wife and you and your wife smiling. And I know sometimes it's tough to make a transition in this business, as you know, now that you're in the
Yep.
world of TV. But I'm glad that a lot of this stuff appears to be on the straight and narrow and moving forward just in time for a big week that I know this is big for you and your colleagues, your tight end summit. We talked about it with Kittle. I want to get Kelce on this program because I'm all about tight ends as well as kickers, because you guys sometimes, I don't mean to lump you all together, but sometimes there is a lack of respect at this position.
It's true.
And you have your own day now, thanks to Kittle. So correct, you will be there. Everything's all settled for you to be present at this Nashville-based summit for tight ends going down this week.
Yep. So originally, when obviously when things went, I had to kind of take a back seat. But over the last few weeks, as things kind of progressed and moved forward here at home, and he's home and settled, I'll be able to go fly down Wednesday night. Actually, believe it or not, one of our major sponsors, good plug here, but it's actually a good transition. One of our major sponsors, Body Armor, was nice enough to help me arrange transportation when things were going sideways and things were busy here. If I wanted to get down, they helped arrange transportation to get down there. They were one of the first people to jump on board to help us put on this awesome event. So I'm personally and as the camp super thankful for them to help us put this on. But yes, we have about 50 NFL tight ends coming down to Nashville.
50.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of this week. We're putting them up in the hotel. We got meetings, workouts. We're going to work out on the field. We're going to work out in the classroom. We're going to have presentations. We're going to have a little fun at night. We're going to go out and, have some dinner and have everyone in. And for 3 days, we're just going to focus on tight ends. We're going to dive into everything that makes tight ends unique and special. We're going to have the Kittles and the Kelces and the Mercedes Lewis and guys who've really done aspects of the game at a really high level, make these cool presentations and have some classroom time. So I think 50 guys, all different backgrounds, all different experience levels. It's going to be as unique an event as I've ever been a part of.
No kidding. So last we checked with Kittle, he said that there was up in the air in terms of the syllabus, but you're all like, this is all settled. You got you got PowerPoints, you got meetings, you got camaraderie, you got this whole thing working. What do you hope to achieve from this, Greg Olsen? What's the end result here?
I think the biggest thing, so much, there's quarterback camps and, there's other positions that a lot of the time steal a lot of the attention. But I think as we've seen over the last decade or so, the evolution of the tight end has become such a prominent role, not, for the team, of course, but just throughout the league. There's a lot of big personalities. Tight ends are finally at the point where, they're along the lines of the star quarterbacks, Kittle and Kelce and those guys. I mean, they're on the same level as, the Cam Newtons and the Russell Wilsons and the Odell Beckhams and, those guys. And that hasn't always been like that. And, it's just a position that a lot of guys take a lot of pride in. I think it's a position that internally around the NFL is very highly valued, but I don't know if necessarily everyone truly appreciates it. So I think to get guys who know what it's like and want to continue to build that, build that platform of what the position brings, we could have had 75 people, Rich. I mean, the amount of guys who reached out to us, and we had college coaches asking if they could attend and bring their kids. I mean, we had people from all over the spectrum. Finally, we had to cut it at some point and say, we got to keep this for NFL guys. We got to try to keep it at 50, because we're, Wednesday night, we're going to have a little get-together dinner kickoff party at the hotel. And, you start putting 50 guys up in hotel rooms. I mean, it gets hard. This is to be able to do all this for everybody, as nice as Kelce and Kittle and myself are, it's not cheap. But we've got some awesome sponsors who jumped in on this. I already mentioned, Body Armor and Bridgestone is local, and Levi's, and we got some really cool sponsors that came in and said, "Hey, we'll help you foot the bill on giving these guys experience, and then on the back end, all the remaining money we're going to give to the Nashville Boys and Girls Club. We're going to have a bunch of their kids over for a free football camp on Thursday afternoon.
There we go.
In the middle of our session, and then all the rest of the proceeds are going to be given to various children's charities both in Nashville and throughout the country. So at the same time of putting on a cool event, we'll be able to help a lot of good organizations as a result of the sponsors that have jumped on board.
What about Gronk? Is he coming? I know I'm getting into some territory here. Who's here, who's not? But is Gronk coming?
We invited him. He said he was going to try to make it. He's not, as of now, he's not one of our confirmed.
Come on. Gotta get him.
He's not. But we got some, we got, the who's who list. I mean, obviously, aside from we got Darren Waller, We got, Ertz is coming and Hooper, and obviously we got Kelce and Kittle. We got Kyle Pitts.
There we go.
Got some young guys coming in. So we got a pretty good group, and we invited Gronk. We'd love him to join us. He's a busy man. He's a busy man.
All
so
right.
We'll see.
Well, here's another one. What about Tebow? Is he coming?
I don't think Tebow's coming. I think when we started talking about how do we control this, how do we make this not 100 guys? And we had at some point, our point was like, let's try to get guys who been a part of the position, have had a little background, have been on a roster, try to build some guidelines. Now, listen, if Tebow wants to continue to develop as a tight end, which knowing his personality and the type of guy he is, I'm sure he's going to do everything a billion miles an hour. And this time next year, he's still kind of chasing that transition, and he's on a roster and wants to come. We'd love to have him. I have nothing but respect for him, and I hope he does awesome. But we're trying to accommodate young guys and old guys alike, and the numbers sometimes get a little tough. What if
are you going to have like a seminar on making yourself a wide receiver when it comes time to be classified as a franchise tag player or something like that? Or, are we going to have something like that, like next level type 3D chess? Greg, what do you think?
I remember when Jimmy went through that with New Orleans years back.
Yeah.
We were joking about it on a call the other night with George. We said, they want us to block the guy the tackle blocks and run routes on the guy the receiver runs routes against and pay us half. It's kind of the running joke of tight ends in the league, but it's part of what makes the position special, and we understand that, and we embrace that, and we're going to make the most of it.
I'm fired up for you, Greg. Enjoy it. Enjoy that time. Enjoy the time. And I do want to say this, too. And I think you will echo the sentiments easily, but I'll say this anyway. I know it was just Father's Day, but I'm doing the math in my head about when you found out that your son needed a transplant. Your wife, Kara, must have had a heck of a Mother's Day, and I hope that next year her Mother's Day is like your Father's Day, Greg.
Well, I appreciate that, and I hope so too. If anyone deserves it, it's her.
Gosh.
She's the rock. She's unbelievable. She handled things as well as I could ever imagine a mother handling what she's been through for 9 years. So I wish nothing more than that, and we're going to try to give her a lot of good days between now and then.
Please send her my best and your entire family, and happy Father's Day, Greg Olsen. Happy Father's Day.
Appreciate it, Rich. Same to you, buddy. I always enjoy coming on. Thanks so much.
You're the best. Let's have you back on later on in the summer. We'll talk football when you're getting set to start your broadcasting career. Thanks for the call.
Would love it. Look forward to it.
Right back at you. That's Greg Olsen, everybody.